بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وبارك على الأشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد حياكم الله جميعا وبارك الله فيكم. This lesson today inshallah will probably just be recapping some of the main points in relation to Islam وأركانه وإحسان وإيمان بل وأركانه يعني the pillars of Islam, the pillars of Īmān, and what we discussed in relation to that in our previous lesson, just as a point of يعني muraja'a, and as well as that inshallah ta'ala يعني the main points of benefit from that inshallah wallahu ta'ala a'lam. And so thus today will be a shorter lesson than usual. Now, so Shaykh al-Islam Muḥammad Abdul Wahhāb, after laying out the first usul, the first foundation, which is the foundation of the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and essentially his discussion around the Tawḥīd of Allah and the uluhiyyah of Allah, that Allah ta'ala is only worthy of worship. After that, he discusses the asl al-thani, the second principle, which is the principle of Islam and its adillah. يعني the proof of Islam and its adillah. And thus, he defines it by way of his statement, والاستسلام لله بالتوحيد وانقياد له بالطاعة والبراءة منه من الشرك وأهله. And so it is that the person submits to Allah by way of Tawḥīd and turns back to Allah Ta'ala upon obedience and frees himself from shirk and its people. And so this is how he describes this affair of Islam. And thus he mentions after that Islam is made up of three levels. Islam is made up of three levels. Al-Islām, al-Īmān wa Iḥsān. Islam, Īmān and Iḥsān. And that is the pillars of Islam are five. The pillars of Islam made up of five. They are, first and foremost, the shahādah of la ilaha illallah. So the first of these five is the shahādah of la ilaha illallah. There's no deity worthy of worship besides Allah. And thus, the shahādah within itself is made up of conditions. The shahādah is made up of conditions. What are the conditions of the shahādah, barakallahu feek? How many are they? And what are they? Ilm is one, knowledge. Sidq, and truthfulness. Yaqeen, certainty. Ikhlas, sincerity. Muhabba, love. Qiyad, submission. And qubul, acceptance. Now these are the seven. And then it has pillars as well. First of all, before we mention the pillars, what is the difference between يعني شروط والأركان? What is the difference between conditions and pillars? How do you differentiate between the two? The pillars come before the conditions. You want to agree? Other way around. You're looking at me like you're not sure. The other way around. Pillars are in the thing and the condition out of it. So anyone come have a? This is to be honest with you, they're all correct, but not specific enough. Not specific enough. They go hand in hand as well. Still, everyone's all correct, but not specific enough. Yep. So conditions, as Fidel mentioned, the conditions are present before and the pillars within. It's all missing something. Before, yes, but what else? And throughout. Now, the condition has to be present throughout the action. Now, the pillar has to be present, or the condition rather, has to be present throughout the action. So, for example, from the conditions of the shahādah we mentioned is يعني ikhlas. So it can't be a case that the person that states the shahādah, he begins mukhlis, like in the middle of the shahādah, or that which the shahādah necessitates, he loses the ikhlas. Now, I mean, fulfilled it then. Does that make sense? So it has to be present throughout. Now, as for the pillars can come and go within the action, depending on what part of the action you are. Now, so as for the pillars of the shahādah, then they are what? Pillars of the shahādah is affirmation and negation. Affirmation and negation. In that order? Negation first and affirmation. Naam. So what is it that you negate? Any ma'bud, anything that is worshipped besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hence why when you state the shahada, you state la ilaha. Yani the la is referred to in the Arabic language as what? Does anyone remember? You mentioned it. La, nafiya, nahya, la nafiya, lil jins. La nafi lil jins. So it's a la nafi lil jins, meaning that it's an absolute negation. Naam. So when you say la and then whatever follows it, then you're negating everything that comes after it. So for example, if you was to say la taliba fil fasl, and there's absolutely no student in the classroom. Naam. And so when you state with the shahada, la ilaha, then there's absolutely no deity you're referring to. Now that's the absolute negation. Then the ifbad, then the affirmation is the affirmation of what? Allah being the true deity. Now, there is no deity worthy of worship in truth besides Allah. Now, there's no deity worthy of worship in truth besides Allah. So that's the shahada. That's the shahada in terms of its conditions and in terms of its pillars. Then we have the second part of the shahada, which is the shahada of Muhammad Rasulullah. What the shahada of Muhammad Rasulullah necessitates is that the person, he adheres to everything that the messenger, or he believes in everything that the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam informed us of. That's the first thing. So he believes in everything that he informed us of sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He adheres to his commands. He stays away and he avoids his prohibitions. And he worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based upon what he sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, legislated. Brought about with legislation by the wahyi. Na'am. This is the shahada of Muhammad Rasulullah. The person has to adhere to each and every one of those things. So it's not a case now where a person says, I believe the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he informed us of this, however, I don't believe that. Na'am. That he's selecting what he believes. This is the messenger of Allah ﷺ. Or that the person, he says that he believes the messenger of Allah ﷺ, however, he does not believe that he has to act upon everything that he's informed us of. All of these things are examples of kufr. Examples of a person disbelieving. And so this is the shahada of Muhammad Rasulullah. First pillar. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. The second pillar is the pillar of the Salah. Now the pillar of the Salah. Likewise, the Salah is made up of conditions and made up of pillars. Salah is made up of conditions, made up of pillars. As well as wajibat and sunan. It's made up of wajibat, obligations, and made up of sunan, yani the actions which are actions of sunnah. So, some examples of the conditions are what? Islam, person has to be Muslim. Remember, when we said the condition has to be there throughout the action. So it cannot be a case that the person begins the Salah, the Muslim, and leaves the Salah, and leaves Islam in the middle of Salah. You had the middle. Naam, it has to be Muslim throughout the action. What else? Purity. The person has to be in a state of purity. Naam, whether that's wudu or other than that. Because it could maybe a major impurity and minor impurity. What else? Sanity. The person has to have sound mind. Be aqil. What else? There has to be baligh. Naam, baligh? Huh? Adulthood. So it has to be reach adulthood. No? 10? Wajib upon 10. No, everyone seems unsure of this one. Why? Now, they're accountable in terms of the conditions of the salah. So is it conditions of purity or what? Or something else? Tamyiz. Now, that's when the person reaches the age of tamyiz, which is 7, essentially. Where they're able to discern, they're able to distinguish. So this is where the Prophet ﷺ commanded us. I mean, this is something which is different from other actions. Why? Because the Nabi ﷺ singled this out to command the children to pray at this age, from the age of tamyiz. Naam. And then at the age of 10, if they still don't refuse to pray, then they are be due to that. Naam. What else from the conditions? Have an aura. Naam. What else? Facing the Qibla. Again, if we look at the example or the reason, what we say about the condition is that the condition has to be there throughout the action. And the facing of the Qibla is a clear example of that. Because a person cannot begin the Salah facing the Qibla and halfway through the Salah start facing another direction. Naam, the condition has to be there throughout. So, what's an example of some of the arkan, the pillars of the Salah? Naam, recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha. Takbir. The first takbir. Takbir, and what's it referred to? What's its name? What's it referred to as? Takbir to Ihram. Why? Why is it called Takbir to Ihram? Because some of the action it makes tahrim, so it makes unlawful some actions that were generally lawful before it. For example, eating, drinking, talking. Generally speaking, it's mubah, it's permissible to talk, it's permissible to eat, to drink. However, after that takbir to ihram, it becomes unlawful for the individual to do. Tayyib. And what are some of the wajibat, obligations of the salah? Example. The first tashahhud. What's the difference between a pillar and an obligation? The pillar invalidates the salah. Yes. You can do sahw, yes. Something a bit more, it's good, sahih, but a bit more precise. The pillar, cannot be missed. Whether you miss it, amdan, you miss it deliberately, or sahwan, or you miss it by mistake, due to forgetfulness, for example. You cannot miss a pillar. As for the wajib, then if you miss it deliberately, then what does that mean? Invalidates the salah. However, if you miss it sahwan, if you miss it by mistake, due to forgetfulness, then the person can perform sajda sahw. This is the difference. So from the examples of that is the first tashahhud. Naam. Another example. Is that example of, I mean, what examples of the wajibat? Naam, in the salah. Afwan. Praying an extra rak'ah from the wajibat. It's not necessarily wajibat, an action that is from the wajibat. So the first tashahhud is, the second tashahhud is for a pillar. The first tashahhud is from the wajibat. All the takbirat, other than takbirat ihram. Now. No. No, that's all in good regarding the takbirat, all the takbirat. Allah Ta'ala knows best. Now, all the takbirat. Now, these are examples of the wajibat. Sunan, what examples of the action of sunnah in the salah? What do we understand to be sunan of the salah? What do we understand that to be? What is a definition of it first? Sorry. A definition. What do we say are the sunan of the salah? It's not wajib, okay? But then a rukn can say it's not wajib. It's a rukn. If you do it, you get rewarded. If you don't do it, still your salah is valid. No. So essentially, it's an action that does not invalidate. If you don't do it, it doesn't invalidate the salah. However, if you do it, you're rewarded for that. يعني اقتداء بالنبي عليه الصلاة والسلام. Follow an example of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. طيب, an example of that you mentioned, أخوان. Reading another surah after Surah Al-Fatiha. رفع اليدين, raising of the hands, the takbirat. Another example, one more. The beginning, the first dua before reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. Naam. So these are all examples of the affair of the salah. And we mentioned as well the salah itself, the ruling upon the salah is that it's an obligation. We mentioned the ruling of salah is that it's an obligation. And that the one that leaves off the salah, then such an individual, there's ikhtilafat, but you have the opinion that the one that leaves off the salah, even if it's one salah, has disbelieved. Naam. Allah Ta'ala knows best. Thereafter, you have the zakah, the third pillar, which is the zakah. And the zakah, the intent of the zakah is to give something of your wealth, a portion of your wealth, in obligatory sadaqah. The portion of your wealth in obligatory sadaqah, obligatory charity. From the benefits of zakah is that it's a means of purification of the wealth. It's a means of purification of the wealth. And zakah is paid upon what? What is zakah paid upon? What are the commodities that a person pays zakah upon? Gold? Silver? Cattle? I thought you said atar. Cattle. Naam. Merchandise. Crops. Gold, silver, merchandise. What do you mean by merchandise? For those that were there on Monday. That you sell. And what's the main dhabit? The main principle in that regard is that you have to have the intent to sell it. So you have to have something of merchandise, have a commodity with the intent to trade it. As soon as you have the intent to trade it, then it becomes eligible for zakah. Naam, jayyid. And how much is the amount that is paid for zakah? 2.5% of your wealth. Now. So, thereafter you have the fourth pillar, which is the pillar of Ramaḍān, Sawm Ramaḍān, fasting a month for Ramaḍān. Naam, fasting a month for Ramaḍān. And the affair of fasting linguistically its meaning is al-imsak, you need to withhold. To withhold from something. Naam. When we're talking about the fast, which is linguistic, I just generally withholding. So, for example, when Maryam withheld from speech, it was referred to as Sawm. Referred to as a means of fasting. As for the fast Shar'an, it's for the fasting of Sharia, then they define it as al-imsak, من طلوع الفجر الثاني من غروب الشمس مع النية، أو الإمساك عن المفترات الكبيرة والصغيرة من طلوع الفجر الثاني إلى غروب الشمس مع النية. So it is that the person withholds from all of the things that break the fast, whether they be the major things or the minor things that break the fast, from the second dawn, the true dawn, until sunset with the intention. So, with this, we understand that the fast is referring to the person withholding from the things that break that fast. So the things that break the fast are what? The major things are what? For example, this is a heads up. This is a heads up. I asked the same question to the kids in Quran school about an hour ago, and they answered it correctly. So, no pressure. Now, so the things that break the fast in the major sense. Now, marital relations, food and drink, smoking. You were there, that's why. MashaAllah. The things that break the fast in the minor sense. Naam, it's backbiting, ill speech. Naam, this is due to the hadith of the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, where he mentions man lam yada' qawl az-zur wa 'amala bihi laysa lillahi haja an yada' ta'am wa sharaba. Whoever does not leave off ill speech or acting upon it, Allah does not have the need for it. Allah does not require for him, rather, for him to leave off his food and his drink. Naam. Due to the fact that if a person breaks the fast with one of the major things, then he has to make up that fast, the fast of Ramaḍān. If the person breaks the fast with the minor things, or he does something that affects the fast with the minor things, then it renders that fast deficient. However, he's not required to make it up. Now, you have a question? No problem. Now, and the ruling on the fast, of the fast of Ramadan, is that it's an obligation. It's an obligation. As Allah Ta'ala states, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Oh, you believe, indeed the fast is made obligation upon you, just as made the obligation upon those that come before you, so you may attain by way of it piety. And this is from the greatest of the ahdaf, of the goals of fasting, is that the person, by way of that fast, so they fast in a manner which is legislated, they attain piety. Likewise, as well, in the definition, it mentions that the person begins the fast from Fajr and breaks the fast at Maghrib. This is an obligation. Now, so a person cannot now say that they're going to begin their fast before that, or they're going to begin their fast after that. Likewise, a person cannot say that they're going to break their fast well into the night. Naam, rather what was upon the individual that they break the fast as soon as they can when the sunset comes. The final thing mentioned within the definition as well is that the person does so with the niyyah, that they do so with the intention. This intention, the intention of ibadah, is what sets aside the fast from any other withholding, just general imsak. Because a person could withhold from eating and drinking. People do it now, where they do what they call intermittent fasting. Now, I'm saying withhold from eating and drinking. However, they withhold from eating and drinking for the intent maybe of bettering their health, or the intent of losing weight. But they do not do so with the intention of ibadah. So it's not regarded as being a fast which is shari'i. It's not regarded as being a fast which is in accordance with the sharia. Naam. Likewise, a person could yani, not eat and drink, but just due to forgetfulness. Nah, so he just hasn't realized he's eaten anything all the way till Maghrib. It doesn't now mean that he's fasted. Why? Because he didn't have the intent to fast. And so this is what differentiates the general withholding from the ibadah, the intention. Thereafter, we have the fifth pillar, which is the pillar of Hajj. Now, the pillar of Hajj. And this is the Hajj, the pilgrimage which is performed, the Hajj of Islam, the pilgrimage that is performed to Mecca, and it is done within the days of Dhul Hijjah. It's performed within the days of Dhul Hijjah. Does anyone know which day it starts? Which date of Dhul Hijjah it begins? 11th, 10th, going down. Which day in Dhul Hijjah does it begin? The days of Hajj. The first. Went all the way down. Now, it begins on the 8th. The 8th day of Dhul Hijjah. The 8th day of Dhul Hijjah, that's where the person begins the days of Hajj. The 9th day is what? Yawm Arafah. Naam. And then the 10th day, Yawm al-Eid. Naam. Then you have after the Ayyam al-Tashriq, the days of Tashriq. This is how these are the days in which the person performs the Hajj. As for how they perform the Hajj, then of course they go to the miqat. So they assume the ihram from the miqat, or from Makkah if they're in Makkah already. And then on the 8th day, where do they go? The first day, where do they go? You don't know. Mount. On Arafah on the 8th day? For 8th day they go to Mina. 8th day they go to Mina. 9th day, Arafah. Naam. On the night of the night, so from Maghrib rather. So the 10th night, which of course the night precedes the day, then they go to where? I don't remember. Muzdalifah. And then they stay in Muzdalifah. After that, they go to, and this is the 10th day, it's the day of Eid. Where is that? It goes back to Mina. And then they may do the slaughter in Mina, and then they go to Eid prayer. Not the Hujjaj, not we do Eid prayer. That's in Mina. They go to Mecca. They go to the Masjid al-Haram. And what do they do at Masjid al-Haram? Huh? It's an easy one. Not Umrah necessarily, but they do Tawaf. They perform the Tawaf. Naam. And thereafter they return to Mina. Naam. So we mentioned as well that there are how many types of Hajj? 3. Is it 4? They're 3. They're 3. 3 types of Hajj. And what are they referred to as? Hajj al-Tamattu', Qiran, Hajj al-Tamattu', Hajj al-Qiran, and Hajj al-Ifrad. نعم تمتع قران إفراد. خلاص the difference between them are what? Tamattu' is with Umrah. Qiran is with Umrah. What's the difference in Tamattu' and Qiran then? Jayd. So Tamattu', you perform the Umrah in Ihram, of course. You come out of the state of Ihram, and then during the days of Hajj, you go back into the state of Ihram. Naam. When do you need to perform that first umrah? Before the 8th, of course. Well, that could be what? That could be now. It's before the 8th now. When before the 8th? When do they perform? When can you perform that first umrah? The months prior to Dhul Hijjah, now which are Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, and then any of the days up until the 8th. So they do perform the umrah, they come out of ihram. Naam, and then they go into ihram again for Hajj. The Qiran, then they do what? One ihram only. The third, ifrad, just the Hajj by itself. There is no umrah involved. So, and the best one, tamattu. Why? He said it. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said it, as it was narrated by Aisha radiallahu anha. Even though what? He didn't do it himself. Which one did he do? Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Qiran. He formed the Hajj al-Qiran himself. And what was the reason why he formed the Hajj al-Qiran? Remember? He brought his slaughter with him. Alayhi salatu wasalam. Naam. So that's the Hajj. And that's the 5th and final pillar of Islam. Then we have the pillars of Īmān. The pillars of Īmān. The first of them is belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The belief in Allah. No doubt, belief in Allah Azza wa Jal, this is the first pillar of Īmān. The first pillar of Īmān. And it's to believe in Allah Ta'ala's rububiyyah, His uluhiyyah, and His asma wa sifat. Some of Ahlul Ilm, when they mention these categories of Tawḥīd, these 3 categories, so rububiyyah, uluhiyyah, asma wa sifat, they mention it as how many categories, rather? 2. And what are they? The 2. If you say there's 2. Tawḥīd. The first one is Tawḥīd al-Ma'rifah wal-Ithbat. Naam. The first one is Tawḥīd al-Ma'rifah wal-Ithbat. So the first one referring, Naam, pertaining to the ilm that the person has, the knowledge that the person has regarding the Tawḥīd. Naam. And that this is the affirmation of the rububiyyah of Allah Ta'ala as well as asma wa sifat. So the affirmation about everything to do with Allah Ta'ala. And then the second is the Tawḥīd uluhiyyah, but it's referred to as something else. Talab al-Qasd. The Tawḥīd al-Talab wal-Qasd. Naam, so referring to the ibadah. Referring to the ibadah of the individual. Now, these are one and the same. Whether you say the 3 or mention the 2. They're one and the same thing. Naam. It's just that those 2 in relation to the rububiyyah and asma wa sifat are categorized as one thing in terms of the knowledge of Allah Ta'ala. That it's upon the individual to have that knowledge of Allah Ta'ala and affirm everything in relation to that ilm of Allah. Naam, in relation to His rububiyyah and in relation to His asma wa sifat. Likewise as well, the actions that come with that is the second type, which is the uluhiyyah, the ibadah. Naam. And so this is the Īmān billah, yani the belief in Allah. No doubt, the Īmān billah and the affair of uluhiyyah is what sets us aside from all of the other adyan, all of the other religions. This affair of uluhiyyah, the worship of Allah Ta'ala alone. That is the Muslims that truly sing Allah Ta'ala alone without any partners. And thus, this is why Allah Ta'ala sent prophets and messengers to every nation with the call to Tawḥīd. We state, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنْ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. Indeed, I sent to every nation a messenger with the command of worshiping Allah Ta'ala alone and staying away from the false deities. So, thereafter, we have the second pillar of Īmān, which is What? Belief in the malaika. And we mentioned the belief in the malaika is of how many types? 2. And they are general and specific. The general belief in the malaika is in relation to the fact that they are created from nur. That they're created from light. And that the malaika, they do not disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From their nature, they do not disobey Allah ta'ala. They do everything that they're commanded with. And the malaika, that we believe within the malaika, that they are many, great in number. And great in their physical stature in terms of the manner in which they've been created. This is the general belief. What do we understand from the specific belief of the malaika? So we affirm the roles that have been mentioned in relation to them. Whether it be the malaika that are, or a malak that is in charge of the revelation, or a malak that has been given responsibility of the weather, or the malak al-maut. So we affirm their tasks, as well as affirming their names. We affirm the names that have been given to them. So anything that's mentioned specifically about the malaika, we also affirm. And this is from Īmān bil malaika. Then we have Īmān bil kutub. The belief in the books. And the belief in the books is what? Again, general specific. General, that the books have been sent, and they have been sent in its purest form and its perfect form by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they've been sent to their respective messengers. And we affirm that. We affirm that everything they've sent has been sent by Allah ta'ala from the wahi. And when it was sent, it was free from any form of distortion or change. The specifics is that we believe in the books that have been mentioned specifically. So we affirm the belief in the books that have been mentioned specifically, whether they be the books of the previous nations or the Quran. We believe in their names, we believe in them and who they've been sent to. And we affirm them. Again, we affirm that they've all been sent in perfection, upon perfection. And it's from the hands of the people that have distorted or changed the meanings and the contents of them, except for the Quran. Except for the Quran, which has been preserved. Then we have the belief in what? Before Yawm al-Qiyamah? The prophets. The belief in the prophets and messengers, that they've been sent to their respective nations. Again, the call to Tawḥīd. That all of their da'wah began with Tawḥīd. Irrespective of their personal scenario that they were in, they always began their da'wah to Tawḥīd. Why? Because irrespective of whatever scenario a person finds himself in, it's a must that in order for a person to achieve change, they must change the state, with the Khaliq, Allah Ta'ala, the Rabb al-Alameen. How is it a person is going to complain about any affair within the dunya whilst they do not have an upright relationship with the one that controls all of the affairs of the dunya? And so Shaykh Rabi', hafidhahullāh, in his book Manhaj al-Anbiya, the methodology of the prophets, in calling to Allah, he mentions examples of some of the prophets and messengers. He mentions the example of Musa, where Musa faced the trials of Fir'aun, where Fir'aun called to rububiyyah of himself, i.e. he claimed rububiyyah for himself. Likewise, he was oppressing Bani Israel, oppressing them, killing the boys of Bani Israel. And Shaykh Rabi' makes the point that the da'wah of Musa alayhi salam, even with all of that going on, with the mujrim, the criminal that was Fir'aun, the Taghut, that was Fir'aun. With all of that, he began his da'wah to Tawḥīd. His da'wah did not begin as one talking about rulership and that we need to get rid of Fir'aun and overthrow Fir'aun. No, the da'wah began with Tawḥīd. Rectify the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost for everything else. Likewise, Shaykh mentions the example of Yusuf alayhi salam, where he was falsely imprisoned. Again, his da'wah began with Tawḥīd. His da'wah did not begin calling the people or him discussing his personal grievances. His da'wah began calling the people to the Tawḥīd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the manhaj of all of the Anbiya wa Rusul. From the beginning of them to the end of them. So, the fifth pillar of Īmān, Yawm al-Akhir, the belief in the final day. And what is understood from this, that we believe in every aspect of the final day. Every aspect of the final day. Whether it be the belief in the Mizan, the belief in the scales, where the deeds of the servant are weighed up upon the scales, or the belief in the Sirat and the bridge, or the belief in the Hawd, the pool. And the belief in relation to the pool is that every single prophet will have a Hawd, a pool. Naam. And the belief in the Hawd as well comes from a narration in which it mentions that the people will be going to the Hawd and drinking from the pool. And then the Malaika will be plucking these individuals off from the Hawd and throwing them. And the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam will come and state, Ummati, Ummati, my nation, these people from my nation. And the response will be, you do not know what they invented after you. I'm referring to Ahlul Bid'ah. You do not know what they came and invented after you. And so this is the example of the Hawd, the pool. Something else from the affair of Yawm al-Akhir, the final day, that is the resurrection in of itself. The manner in which the servant is resurrected. And so all of these things are encompassing of the belief in the final day. Then we have the sixth and final pillar of Īmān, which is belief in the Qadar, khayrihi wa sharrihi, and the good of it and the bad. And the Qadar is made up of maratib, made up of levels. The Qadar is made up of levels. And what are those levels, barakallahu feekum? Therefore, you asking me, what are you telling me? 4. Tell you. And what are those 4? The Kitaba. Is that the first thing? Al-Ilm. Knowledge. Referring to what? Barakallahu feekum. The ilm of Allah. That Allah Ta'ala has full knowledge of everything that has occurred and will occur. And everything that is occurring. The ilm of Allah is all encompassing. Naam. The ilm of Allah is all encompassing. Thereafter, you have the second, which is al-Kitab. Naam. That which is written and preserved in the Lawh Mahfūz. That which is written and has been, whatever will occur has been written down. Whatever will occur has been written. The third, Lawh Mahfūz is the Kitabah, what has been written. The third, the Mashiach of Allah, the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Naam. Everything that Allah ta'ala will occur will occur. And this is synonymous with what is referred to as al-irada kawniyah. That which Allah ta'ala will occur within the kawn, within the creation. And if Allah ta'ala will occur, will occur. And the fourth and final, The fourth and final is the khalq, the creation. That everything is created at its appointed time. That Allah Azza wa Jal creates everything at its appointed time. And all of these are the four maratib of Īmān bil-Qadar. Allah Ta'ala knows best. Inshallah, we'll conclude here. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, in our next lesson, we'll continue from where we left off, going on to the discussion around ihsan, and the levels of ihsan and the manner in which ihsan occurs. Allahu Ta'ala a'lam, barakallahu feekum, wa jazakum Allahu khayra, wa sallallahu wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muḥammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.